And welcome, YouTube types, to our daily space weather content. Coming at you from the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. We're starting things out with some composite imagery here. It's ionized iron and helium, two different species of iron, one of helium. 304 angstroms is the helium, 211 and 171 angstroms are the iron. And we've got some M-class flares in the past 24 hours. Here's some composite imagery. Again, this is 1700 plus 131 angstroms. We'll be going over sunspots, coronal holes, and lots more. The magnetic environment, and so on. So sit back and relax and enjoy the scenery of space. Here's what's going on in the earthly geospace, out to about 12 Earth diameters. This is the magnetohydrodynamic pressure, as modeled by the Space Weather Modeling Framework for the past 4 hours. We are seeing some gyrations here in the pressure, although we're seeing the subsiding of a coronal hole high-speed stream, and most of the high pressure is on the dark side of the planet, at least for the first 2 of the past 4 hours. And let's show ground magnetic perturbation since we showed Earth's magnetic moment from space. Here's Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. This is modeled in nanotesla magnetic flux density. Changes to Earth's B field, known as geospace delta B. When you see delta, that means change in. B is the B field. The field that goes through the magnet will also show you the sun's B field here in a bit. But that's the Earth's magnetic perturbations over the past 4 hours. KP index here at 3 over the past 12 hours. 9 hours. Each one of these represents 3 hours, folks. So yeah, there you go. The past 9 hours there, KP3, geomagnetic calm conditions. And I would note the bottom line here. The bottom line, yes, it's kind of important. When you see colors depicted down here, for example, this is a switchover between the Discover and the Ace. As that turns from blue to green, blue's the Discover, green is the Ace. Those are the spacecraft located at Lagrangian point 1, in between Earth and Sun, in order to take a census of the solar wind, magnetic field, plasma temperature. Anyway, current conditions are, again, we have a subsiding coronal hole high-speed stream here. It's getting quite diffuse. Solar wind density only 3.29 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed here still a bit elevated at 461 kilometers per second. The rest of that is fairly unremarkable. Let's continue on to magnetic data. Here's the GOES magnetometers over the past 3 days. Those measurements by the GOES 16 and 17 at a near equatorial geosynchronous orbit, around like 11,000 feet of altitude, something like that. 11,000 miles of altitude, not feet. 11,000 miles of altitude. Next, the heliospheric current sheet, and it looks like there is a South Pole current sheet headed our way. You can see the South Pole current sheet here in red, North Pole current sheet shown here in green. And by tomorrow, there's a distinct possibility, I'd say about 90%, that Earth will snap into a South Pole current sheet. Keep in mind the magnetic environment can change suddenly, and when we recorded this video, the data was already nearly an hour and a half old. So here's a line of sight view. We do have additional sunspots having risen in the northeast since before we made this video. There's a new active region in the southeast as well. It does not appear to be a sunspot yet. And make sure you check out our bonus features on twitch.tv/smashomash for that. And let's move into the realm of coronal holes. So here's the coronal hole scenario, the line of sight coronal hole plot from our great NSO, National Sunspot Observatory Gong 2 data. Some of the best solar cycle progression information you can find in the world. And we're seeing a greater definition of these incoming South Pole-oriented transequatorial coronal holes. We are expecting some periods of geomagnetic unrest tonight, May 19th, and early tomorrow, May 20th as well. The radial flux is now at 180 solar flux units, a smooth monthly value that has never been reached in solar cycle 25. Yes, it's not a smooth monthly value, but the point is Solar Cycle 25 never reached 180 solar flux units. Solar Cycle 24 now exceeding Solar Cycle 25. Anyway, here's a visualization of coronal holes. And you can see a little bit of definition happening over here in the equatorial region there. That's those South Pole-oriented coronal holes we talked about. Some coronal mass ejections to cover as well, so let's blast through a lot more information here as we move into sunspots. So lots of sunspots, very likely to see major flares here. We saw an M-class flare just earlier this morning. That was from sunspot 3017, just behind Jason Voorhees' sunspot. Anyway, lots of sunspots here, as many as 10 named groups showing up there on the flare monitor. Likelihood of major flares remains very, very high. How about a visualization of it? Here is the sunspot scenario. Let's zoom that in one little tick to 75%. There you go. And you can see the M-class flare right at the end, right there. Kind of in between sunspot 3014 and 3017. Again, this area rising up here, that already is a sunspot, so another to be added to the list. Here's a close-up of the flaring region. We slowed that down to 10 frames per second for you. And there's that M-class flare right at the end. We'll let it play through one more time. That's a 24-hour video in composite. 1700 plus 131 angstroms. And again, there's that M-class flare. Thanks to our Twitch followers, by the way. If you're only viewing the content on YouTube, well, we're putting out videos on Twitch daily, live streams about space weather. Typically, sometimes our meteorology segment goes there as well. Twitch.tv/SmashOmash. It's just such a great live streaming platform. There's also a feed directly to it at smashomash.com/SmashTeam. So consider becoming a member over there, thanks to our gold and silver and gold annual paid-up subscribers. We replaced Patreon with a superior website. Patreon didn't have the capabilities we needed. Although we still are on Patreon, you can still donate to us that way. Thanks to everybody who has and does. Give Smash staff a raise by picking up some merch or becoming a member of the Smash Team. Today's featured product is the Galactic Federation Special Forces Universum Liberate design. The unit patch features a key and a lightning bolt and a spiral. The key represents signal strength and security. The lightning bolt represents instantaneous galactic scale reach. The little bright spot in the upper right is a secret. We can't tell you what that means or we may have to kill you. And the spiral represents the Milky Way galaxy. So if you're sick of bringing peace to Earth and the solar system, bring peace to the galaxy. Universum Liberate. If I could wave my magic wand, I'd set everybody free, get a conversation starter again, and give Smash staff a raise. Pick up some merch. We'll be modeling this soon. Today I'm wearing the Do Not Pole Vault the Caldera socks, by the way. You can find links to all that on the homepage at the Smasho merch link at smashomash.com, as well as links to the Smash Team. You can find a permanent invite to our Discord chat. If you want to send me an instant message, feel free. Also to the Twitter, to our PayPal donation site, to Instagram, to Patreon, and more. So to each of you, Universum Liberate, and welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. Smashomash.com. No spikes in the proton flux. Despite a couple of M-class flares in the past 24 hours, we don't see any relativistic particles showing up yet. And this last M flare was pretty significant. It was a M5.5 class. Peak flux was at 720 this morning on May 19th. So here's another view. This is 94 angstroms. Again, there are some coronal mass ejections to cover. We'll get to it right at the end of the video. And here's the composite that we showed earlier in full disk glory. Next, a star chart. I use in-the-sky.org for my star chart. I just put in my location, which is the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. In-the-sky.org if you want to make your own. We're using the all-sky chart. Mine faces south toward the ecliptic. How about a solar system forecast? Here's the next 7 days. as we transition to a crescent waning moon and approach another new moon. All the planets are gathering on one side of the solar system, causing fright for some reason. And let's take a look at coronagraphs. The Stereo A coronagraph and the Soho-Lasco C at Lagrange 1, which is also the location of the ACE and Discover spacecraft that we spoke of earlier. So we paused this here at about 1700 Universal Time to show you this bubble-like CME. It'll miss Earth to the northwest. And I just figured I would pause on that frame to show you the similarities there. It shows you a little bit of the perspective difference between Stereo A, located here at Lagrange 5, and the Soho-Lasco C3, located out here at Lagrange 1. Those are gravitational equilibrium points where we can keep a spacecraft without very much outlay of fuel. Anyway, there may be additional coronal mass ejections here because that M-class flare happened a little bit too soon before we recorded this video. So we may have to put another one out this afternoon. Maybe around lunchtime we'll put out a video, depending on if there was a CME and its trajectory. We'll do some analysis of that if necessary. I like the bubble-like appearance of that. You know, the plasma has to traverse magnetic fields as it exits the solar corona, and sometimes it takes on a bit of a strange shape, often a bubble-like appearance. So anyway, thanks for tuning in to the Daily Space Weather here at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. Press like, press subscribe, share, notify, etc. Get involved. Tell your friends and foes about us. We'll see you soon, and may that solar wind be at your back.